Hey guys, so I'm going to do the general stitching tag today, which is a tag that was started by Molly and Joe. I will link that video down below where they originated it. But first things first, I have a very glittery lip gloss on. You may have seen this in last month's vlog. This is the Milani Brilliant Shine Lip Gloss in Capri. And I'm wearing it by request from Stephanie at Lindy Stitches. Hey girl, because why not? Right? New Year's lips, like I go out for New Year's. I'm gonna have glitter on my face forever. So that's for you, girl. I remembered. Okay, so this tag is only 8 questions. I normally don't do tags, you may have noticed. I just never think I'm interesting enough to do tags. But I'm gonna do this one. So the first question is, how often do you stitch? Once a month, week, weekly, day? Oh yeah, that does make sense. How long is your typical stitching session? So I do not stitch every day. I stitch a few times a week, depending on what I'm working on. Sometimes I'll get on like a stretch where I just get kind of obsessed with the project and then I'll work on it every day for like 4 or 5 days, but that's pretty much my max. My typical stitching session is a couple of hours, I'd say. I use stitching as a way to manage my anxiety, so it's like my comfortable, happy time. So I like to make it as long as I possibly can, but usually it's a couple hours. More than 1, less than 3. Question 2 is, what was the longest one-time session you have ever stitched for? I'm sure I've stitched for like a day. And by that I mean, not like sitting down and stitching and not getting up for 12 hours, but if I had a day off, or maybe I was on vacation, I would just be like, tomorrow's a stitching day. And I would just get up at whatever time, and let's say like 11, I sit down at my computer and I start to queue up the stuff I want to watch, and maybe I get my stitching out, and then maybe I'll watch a couple things, and then I'll start stitching, and I'll probably do that until like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I'm not stitching that entire time. It's just a stitching day, which is basically I get to do whatever I want today, and I will not make myself feel bad about it if I end up doing nothing but sitting in my chair and stitching occasionally, or just having my stitching out and like within arm's reach, and maybe I work on it several times while I'm sitting. So a full day is probably the longest time I've stitched for. As far as like sitting down and like not getting up and like just planting myself in stitching, maybe like 4 or 5 hours. That's a long time. That's a long time to do that. And I find that I either get distracted, or like if you're like me and you stitch along to like YouTube, sometimes I'll want to watch a video that doesn't seem like a video I'd want to stitch to. Like it's either less relaxing to listen to, or I really want to focus on what's happening in it. So I put my stitching down, and then maybe once that video's over, then I get a recommended video, and then I watch that one, and then it's been like 45 minutes and I haven't stitched anything, and I'm just watching internet stuff now. So that happens to me a lot. Question 3, show your favorite Needleminder. This is gonna be like unpopular opinion because I know Needleminders are everybody's everything. I only have 3 Needleminders. I own 3, and I only use 1. So these are the 2 that I don't use. These are both from, all of them are from Retromantic Fripperies. I'll link that down below. So there's a little corset and a clock. This is my whole Needleminder collection, you guys. This is my favorite one. This is the one I use. It still has my needles on it. It's just like a corset slash bustier slash mannequin, I guess, because she has like a neck. And it says Stitch. And it's got my needles on it. So I don't keep my Needleminders on my projects. I just keep this upstairs by my candle, and every time I'm done stitching I put my needle on it, and then whenever I want to start stitching again, I just pick up one of these needles. I usually have a 26 and a 28 on here. These are both 26s actually. No, it's a 26 and a 28. So I guess, yeah. So I always keep a 26 and a 28 on here. And then depending on what I'm stitching, I just pick the needle I want to work with. And so yeah, this is always just up in my stitchy area. I don't move it around. I don't keep it on anything. It's just always sitting there with 2 needles on it. Question 4, what does the way you stitch say about you? I don't really know what way I stitch. Well, okay, no, let's unpack that, Molly and Joe. This is going to be a really deep question. So, I already know that I stitch to manage anxiety. So, but I mean, the way I schedule kind of my rotation, I think it says that I like to dedicate myself to, can anyone even focus on what I'm saying because my lips are so glittery? They're so glittery. So I don't necessarily like to spread myself too thin over a whole bunch of stuff. I usually have like 3 or 4 projects going at a time. And that seems to be like my sweet spot. I guess that's it. I don't really know how to answer this. I mean, I could make a lot of statements based on like what I use stitching for and what that says about my personality, but I don't think that's the point of this question. I guess the main things are like, I don't stitch a lot at once. I only have a few projects going. And I also never really care about finishing anything to the point where I would like hang it on my wall. That probably says something about me. I have only framed one thing, and it's something I gave away. I just recently gave some projects to my mom that she wanted, and she's gonna frame. I gave her the 3 mini mandalas that she wants to frame. She wants to frame Twisted Band Sampler, and she wants to frame Save the Stitches. But like those are hers now. If that had stayed up to me and they were still mine, they would just be in a Ziploc bag in my closet for forever. Other people have mentioned this, but this is probably the truest answer to this question for me. What does the way you stitch say about you? So I'm a process stitcher. Starting new projects is always kind of stressful for me, and the pressure to finish things is always kind of stressful for me. I just enjoy stitching. Just stitching. Technically, I guess I could be stitching anything, which is surprising that I don't pick like full coverage pieces because those last forever. There's a lot of stitching in those. But for the most part, I just like stitching. It's just something that calms me down, and I always say it's something that quiets the part of my brain that I can't shut off, which is like the worrying part, the anxiety part. So for me, it's not really about like starting things or finishing things or having a lot of things, even though I do have a lot of things. It's just about like a relaxing, repetitive thing. Okay, let's move on from that train wreck of an answer. So question 5, is there one piece you stitched that didn't turn out the way you would wanted it to? Yeah, her name is Dorianne, and she still lives in my closet, half finished. I don't know what happened with that. I just totally got like uninspired by it, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I think that was around the time when I started to really realize how much there was out there to do. Like I had been on Etsy and bought those little patterns, and then I did the book spines. I started on Dorianne, and I want to say at that time, that was the time I started realizing about like 1, 2, 3 Stitch and websites and stuff where you could get so much more variety that I just totally went off of Dorianne. She is not even half finished. She's like a third of the way finished, and I'm never gonna finish her. I'm just never. It's full coverage. I'm pretty sure it's 14 count white Aida, and it's just not really my thing anymore. And I don't really have a problem not finishing her. I haven't thrown her away or anything yet. I'm sure I'll be able to. That might make some people feel weird, but I don't really have a problem like getting rid of things. So I could pretty comfortably go upstairs right now and literally throw that entire thing in the trash and not blink an eye about it. I haven't done that yet, and I don't know, maybe it's because I think I'm gonna go back to it or someone else might want it, but I'm not going to go back to it, and I don't think anyone wants it. So I think Dorian is done for. But that's the first like big thing that I've never finished, and that is very unlike me. I like to finish everything and like check the box and be like, I did that. And so that's the thing that I didn't do, and it bothers me. Number 6, what do you find the easiest thing / type of pattern to stitch? I don't know. I don't really find anything that I've done to be particularly difficult. Like, I think stitching is stitching to a certain extent. I would have said specialty stitches a little while ago, but then I did twisted band sampler, and now I'm not really afraid of those anymore. I haven't done any heart hanger. I haven't done any pulled thread work or drawn thread work. I'd like to. So I think that wouldn't be the easiest for me, but that's just because I haven't tried it before. But as far as like mirabilias to ink circles to lavender and lace to like whatever else, it's all just stitching to me. It's just X's and beads and back stitching, and I don't really find any of that particularly difficult. Number 7, are you planning on starting a new piece in the next year that you would consider a challenge? Sure. There's lots of stuff I'd like to stitch. My chatelaine, I'm not starting that next year. I've already started it, but that is a challenge. That lavender and lace, Angel of Love with all the beads, I think that's going to be a challenge because I'm used to beading everything at the end, and you can't really do that with that pattern. You have to bead as you go, and I don't really know how that's going to go for me. I'd like to do Esther's Waves, which I know Tracy and Molly have been talking a lot about on that video. I think that pattern's beautiful, but that's a ton of beads, so logistically that's kind of a nightmare. But I think the thing I'd most like to try next year that is a bit of a challenge is I'd like to get back to doing some of the like hoopla, the hoop projects that I had tried a little bit this year, where I took a piece of fabric and I put like sequins on it. I really liked doing that, but I liked the end result of that, but it was difficult for me because I hadn't really done it before. And my personality is the type, like, if I can't get it perfect, I'd rather not do it. So because of that, I don't try as many new things as I should, because I like to be good at everything the first time, which is impossible. And so my self-consciousness about that prevents me from even trying things. Maybe you guys are like that too. Like, the pressure to get something right is so big that you don't even take that first step. Like, you can't even make yourself try because you're so like, you're already thinking about the end result. Like, I'm a big picture person, and so I can't just be like, I'll just try it. It's hard for me. I'm working on it. So I'd like to, in the new year, produce a little bit more of that kind of free form, kind of like embroidery, but it's not really embroidery, just something that doesn't come with a pattern that I have to embellish on my own. And that's something that's like way out of my comfort zone for me. But I have tons of fabric. I have like hundreds of dollars of beautiful fabric sitting upstairs that I am too nervous to try. So we got to get out of that. I got to try. And the final question is number 8. What was / is the best stitching product you were enabled to buy? I don't know. Like, as far as, I don't know. I don't really use a lot of stuff to stitch. Like, I love this Needleminder that I use, this one. But other than that, I mean, there have been patterns that I've been enabled to buy. Like, the one that comes to mind is when I saw Amanda, Mrs. Milky Bar Kid, do that Spring Heart Sampler by Dinky Dyes. That enabled me to buy all those, and that was the first silk I'd ever bought. That was some of the first beading I'd ever done, not the first exactly, but so that kind of all seemed like kind of an exciting new territory. That was the first specialty fiber I bought, actually, I think. No, that's not true. I had done that Mirabilia and that had Krennic and stuff in it. So, I don't really think I have one. What's a thing, you guys? Oh, I'm totally blanking. I would love a Snag Nabbit, Tracy, but I don't get those here. Just kidding. I don't think Michael's has one, and I haven't ordered one. But yeah, I don't use a lot of stuff. Full disclosure. Here's the amount of stuff I don't use. I have Thread Heaven. I bought Thread Heaven, and I've never touched it. I have never used it, and I will probably never use it. So I guess it's a Needleminder. I guess that's the thing that, yeah, that definitely helps me. Those are useful. It's a Needleminder. You guys, I am bad at tags. This is why I don't do them. Okay, so that's the general stitching tag, and those were my weird answers to those questions.